Hello and welcome to Talking Music, where every song has a story. My name's Paul, and what we like to do on this channel is get behind the story of a song, as it were, get behind the music, and come up with one or two interesting little stories and facts for you. And today's featured song is this one from T.REX, Get It On. Now, as we all know, the force behind T.REX was Mark Bolen, who from around 1970 time was beginning to inspire many upcoming artists themselves who were to become big names later on in the 70s. Artists like The Sweet and David Bowie, to name just a couple. Mark Bolen was an originator, the way he looked, the way he dressed, and he led the way for others who followed in the glam rock genre. And there were so many who followed down this route as well, meticulous about the way they dressed, ever outrageous and more flamboyant. Even Elton John was influenced. T.REX were successful as a band up until 1976, but their real glory days were between 71 and 73, especially in the UK. Hit after hit followed, and Get It On was the biggest they ever had in terms of worldwide sales, because it made the American top 10. It was written by Mark Bolen, and typical of his style, the lyrics were nonsensical, crazy. They were a work of art, though, all their own and open to individual interpretation. And the guitar chords, married with Mark's vocals, created the unique T.REX sound, which by 1971 had grown into a fuller and more rounded production. You compare some of the earlier recordings with some of those hits they had when they were really riding the crest, you can absolutely hear the difference. In fact, the production of T.REX songs, from Hot Love in 1971 through to their last hit, I Love to Boogie, in 1976, was pretty much state-of-the-art, equal to anything coming over from America, like The Sound of Philadelphia, for example. Get It On was the follow-up to their number one hit Hot Love, which had topped the UK charts for 6 weeks earlier in the year 1971. The band immediately went on a tour of America to promote their music with a view to release material. It was while the band was touring in the spring of 1971 that Mark Bolen asked drummer Bill Legend to brainstorm drum patterns on a song idea that would eventually become Get It On.
Yeah, I remember I was walking down the corridor in a hotel, and he had his room opposite me, and he stuck his head out. He said, "You got any drums in your room?" I said, "Well, I have. I've got a snare." He said, "I'll bring it down." And he went through this riff, Get It On. And he said, "What do you reckon?" I said, "Yeah, could be all right." You do sweet, black, don't look back, and I love you.
Once this was settled, nothing really happened for a while, a few weeks, until they got to LA and Mark met up with Howard Kaylan and Mark Volman, who were two members of the 60s pop group The Turtles, and also T.REX's producer Tony Visconti. And the song then was further developed in terms of chorus and rhythm. But Tony Visconti, the band's producer, was keen to get it on, as it were, and pressed Mark into recording the song almost immediately and booked the Wally Hyder studios in LA. It was so soon after creating the melody that Mark hadn't written the lyrics and turned up at the studio with only one line, "You're dirty sweet and you're my girl." The rest of the lyrics were pretty much conjured up on the spot, wonderfully nonsensical and definitely out there, somewhere, making no sense at all. The song, according to Mark, was all about sex, but the only suggestion of it is in the song's title. The finished product was again like the previous hit, Hot Love, a real standout record, which is another great example of glam rock, with its driving beats and rhythm, and when played live on stage, characterised by outrageous costumes, feather boas, mascara and glitter.
We play for the kids that never saw the Beatles. They're seeing us as those sort of people, you know, because they never saw, they weren't around them. The average age of the audience is 15. Certainly, there's been a change in England in 2 years, and we are part of the change. I mean, guys now can wear makeup, they can shout and scream.
And even though this was an American hit, Mark Bolan's success in the States wasn't sustained. In fact, it was the only single release he had. It could be that T.REX, at the forefront of glam rock, was a little too soon for audiences in the United States. They were deep still into their soul and rock. In fact, Creedence Clearwater Revival had just been voted the world's favourite band in a pop poll. The look and sound of T.REX was possibly a little scary for them at the time, but within 2 to 3 years, the likes of Bowie and Elton John were making it big there as they came through on a second wave. Get It On was released in the beginning of July 1971 in the UK, and it didn't waste time getting to the top. Here you can see July 24th, 1971, took over the top spot from Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep, middle of the road. In at 21, then the following week 4, and then from number 4 up to number 1, and it stayed at number 1 for 4 weeks. It ended up being the 10th best seller of the year in the UK, 500,000 record sales. Hot Love, their first UK number 1, was the 5th best seller this year with 600,000 in the UK. 1971 indeed was a great year for T.REX. They were the UK's best-selling singles act, and their album, Electric Warrior, did well too. It was the 5th bestseller of the year in 1971 for the UK. T.REX's American record company, Reprise Records, dithered about whether to release Get It On as T.REX's first single. It was because they were different. Their tour was going quite well, nothing spectacular, but ostensibly meaningless lyrics and an outrageous, for the time, look worried the Reprise executives, who thought they might lose money with the band. But with them being such a smash in the UK, they finally relented and released the song in January of 1972. This is how it fared. In the US, the song was retitled Bang a Gong, because there was another song out there at the time it clashed with, called Get It On, by a group called Chase, which was a minor hit. But for this to have happened suggests to me that Reprise Records weren't wholly behind T.REX. In fact, as I said earlier, it was the only single released by the band in the States. 2 weeks at number 10, that's as high as it got, and then it began to fall back down the Hot 100. Some other tidbits about the song. Apparently, Mark Bolen fell out with his friend the top British DJ John Peel, who had not been too enthusiastic, shall we say, about Get It On when he played it as a white label on his radio programme. The last line of the song, where Mark Bolen sings "Meanwhile I'm Thinking," is a compliment to Chuck Berry and his 1959 song Little Queenie, which is a line from the song itself, and Mark Bolen sings it exactly the same way that Chuck Berry sang it on the song himself. It also shows, I think, where Mark's inspiration was coming from, the music he grew up listening to, Chuck Berry, Eddie Cochran, and other American rockers. And what about his lyrics? On nearly all of his big songs, Ride a White Swan, Metal Guru, Telegram Sam, 20th Century Boy, New York City, there was a wonderful creativity about them, and this was based in his fascination of fantasy, the supernatural, and magic. And the words he wrote can evoke wonderful mental images. The piano on the song was performed by Rick Wakeman, who got paid £9 to do so he could pay his rent. And on the Top of the Pops appearances, it was Elton John who appeared with the band, playing piano, in a sort of before he was famous way. He had, by this time, summer 1971, had Your Song in the charts, but really, Elton John's big days were to start some 6-8 months later. In many ways, T.REX was a trailblazer, ahead of his time, and I've no doubt Mark Bolan would have been a major success in America, like Bowie and Elton John and Rod Stewart, had he not been the first glam rocker. It was too much of a shock for conservative America. They just needed that little bit of time to adjust. But by the time they were ready, 73, 74, T.REX were passing their peak. Timing is often luck, but timing is everything. The US's loss and the UK's gain, I'd say. That's T.REX and Get It On. And that's it for Talking Music, where every song has a story. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. Do subscribe to the channel, because that's the gateway to many more videos like this, with lots of other featured songs through the decades. So hopefully, if you subscribe, I'll catch you in another video. So till then, look after yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.